Oakland A's lineup may be much feared and much talked about, but make no mistake, much of the reason that Oakland has the best record in the majors goes to the pitching staff, whose starting trio is the winningest of all, Bob Welch, Storm Davis, and the ace of the staff, Dave Stewart.
We went into the season looking to build a healthy starting rotation, and I knock on wood because as we're talking, Stewart, Welch, and Davis haven't missed a start, and that's been very important to us. Bob Welch, he's been everything that deal is supposed to be. Storm Davis has really put it together, and he's been consistent. So, you know, we go into every series, and we have a chance to win every time we take the field with those three, and so we got a very sound ball club.
Though Bob Welch did miss a turn recently, the former Dodger has put together a perfectly sound record of 15-7. Just the prescription for a team that had been very much in need of starting pitching.
I think of all the things we did, Bob Welch gave us the credibility that we didn't otherwise have. He was a quality starter, and as most people know, pitching is what contributes to winning a lot of games, and Welch gave us that credibility.
I hate to see someone come trotting across the plate and touch that plate without anyone trying to stop him or anything like that. And for me to go out there and be concerned about giving up 4 or 5 and still think I'm in the ballgame, that's not my job. I got to hold them and out to beat them.
Whatever the method, it's sure working for Storm Davis, one-time Oriolan Padre, who's won a career-high 15 games, including 10 in a row. What a change for the 26-year-old right-hander, who was languishing in the Padre bullpen last August when he got the news that he was moving 500 miles up the coast.
I was sitting in the bullpen on Sunday afternoon, and the phone rings, and our bullpen coach tells me Jack McKeon wants to see me in Larry Bowa's office. I asked to be traded, so I was thrilled about it. I was running down the back. There's like a back way to our locker room, and there's lights in this hallway, but this particular day, they were out. They weren't working. And I ran smack into a wall, laid myself out. But when I got to the office, Jack said, well, your wishes come true. We're going to trade you back to the American League. And he started to list a few teams that I believe that were interested in me, but he didn't tell me until about a minute into the conversation where I had been traded to. When he told me Oakland, I was speechless.
Dave Stewart might say the same about his success with Oakland. With 18 wins, he's bidding for a second straight 20-win season. Absolutely content to be back in his hometown for good.
When you're away from home and you go home, people that you haven't seen and you haven't talked to are pulling at your time, and it really is a big distraction because you really want to do so many things in a short period of time, and you feel as though you're going to cheat somebody if you don't get a chance to see them. You don't get a chance to go by and have some of this peach cobbler, some of that apple pie, or taste some of that good home cooking here. And subconsciously it bothers you, which may take away from your game.
Well, with few relative worries since returning to Oakland in 1987, Stewart has concentrated on the pitch that's critical to his success.
1-2 offering, and he gets Downing to go after that forkball.
The forkball has given me a chance to change speeds, go from a 90-mile-an-hour fastball to something in the low 70s, which is the balance and timing of hitters, which is the key to giving up hits in a ball game. If you can interrupt their balance and their timing, then you're going to have a chance to get them out.
Earlier in his career, Stewart had not been able to find much consistency, but thanks to an old pro, he came up with a forkball.
I had lost my curveball, and all I had was the fastball. I talked to Sandy Koufax, and Sandy says, well, what you need is something that's going to sink for you. So he says, grip the ball like this. He says, shift it up just a little bit like this and see what the ball does. So I started holding the ball like this, and the ball started sinking, which he didn't call it a split finger at the time, but this to me is a split finger, and the ball was sinking for me.
Dennis Eckersley. Man, his stuff has sure been doing wonders for him. Only the 6th reliever ever to collect 40 saves in a season, Eck is another reason Oakland has the best ERA in the league. Meanwhile, in the East, place the highest-ranking team in Boston and credit Red Sox defense for their tight support. If the defense weren't punishing enough, how about the starting pitching? Proclaimed Hale and Hardy once again, and led by a pair of aces, Bruce Hurst and Roger Clemens. Clemens looked fit as can be against the Indians when he came within 5 outs of a no-hitter, settling for his 8th shutout of the season and the first one-hitter of his career.
As far as getting the ball where I wanted to with the velocity, and as far as my shoulder feeling better, everything was falling in place today. It takes me a little longer to get loose, right now, and that's why I got to go out to the bullpen a little bit sooner and start loosening up a little bit earlier. And I've got to get mechanically sound to take the wear and tear off my arm because of all the innings and the strikeouts, and I'm starting to feel a little bit stronger now when we get out of this rut.
Bruce Hurst also picked up the Red Sox when he beat Baltimore to go 17-5 and raise his record at Fenway Park to 12-1. As for the Majors' best hitting lineup, it begins with Wade Boggs, who's bidding for a 5th batting title. And get this, he's reached base by hit, walk, or hit batsman 301 times. How about that? With numbers like those, it's little wonder the Sox figure to pencil in a division title and the other flags that follow as well. Time now for this week's quiz, brought to you by Chevrolet. Whoever wins the National League batting title will likely hit below 320. Now, can you name the Major's lowest season average for a batting champion? Look at those New York Mets, moving and grooving, especially on the mound. Dwight Gooden's 17 wins are reason number 1 for the Mets' best ERA in the majors. Add Ron Darling's 14-9 record, that's only half the reason opposing hitters are in the dumps. Bob Ojeda has 10 wins, an ERA below 3, 5 of the Mets' major league leading 22 shutouts. Also, nothing but choice numbers from sophomore David Cone, who's gone 16-3 while flipping everyone out with the prospect of winning the ERA title.
All of those awards will be for naught unless we make the playoffs. So the most important thing is to win to get us in the playoffs. And then all the accolades and all the awards that come after that will take care of themselves.
Mookie Wilson's been taking care of matters at the top of the order, thanks to a revived bat that's kept him in center field of late. And since August 1st, has produced an average of .340. After all, in this line of work, when you're hot, you can count on playing every day.
A high drive, that might go if it stays fair. It is gone. It hit the screen.
Deep to right field. This has got a chance. Back is Reynolds out of here. Home run, Mookie Wilson.
Of course, Mookie hasn't been the Mets' only standout switch hitter of late. Welcome rookie phenom Greg Jefferies. Called up from the minors in time to qualify for postseason play, Jefferies has posted dazzling numbers. For starters, a .462 average. And for the kid who wasn't supposed to have much power, 14 extra base hits, including 5 homers.
And this ball hit the deep left field. It is going. It is gone. Goodbye. Greg Jefferies with a 2-run home run. And what a start.
But despite the excitement in Flushing, the prospect of a Subway Series was looking iffy up in the Bronx. Trying to exercise their pennant momentum against the Yankees, the Tigers turned on the offense against Dave Righetti. But Detroit's comeback was thwarted in the last of the 10th when Gary Ward pinch hit with 2 men aboard.
Hit deep in the left field. Salazar on the run, and Salazar is clear. 3-run home run. Gary Ward pinch hit. Yankees win it. Yankees win it 7-4.
Losing 14 of 17, Detroit figured to reverse direction next night when Walt Terrell held the Yankees to a mere 2 hits. But in the last of the 6th, Ricky Henderson used a Claudell Washington ground ball to tie the score.
Hit on the ground, shortstop Trammell. His play will be at home. Noakes is there to put the tag. Henderson knocks the ball out of Noakes' glove. Steps on the plate, and we have a tie score. That's basketball club.
Claudell Washington sparked the Yankees even more when he came to bat in the last of the 9th inning.
That's it, deep into right center field. Freddie Lee goes back, looks up, put it on the board. A home run for Claudell Washington on a 3-1 pitch, and the Yankees in the bottom of the 9th inning win it 3-2.
Lou Piniella had even more reason to believe next day when the Yankees came from behind again. This time, Don Slaught keyed the comeback with 4 hits as New York rallied for 6 runs in the 7th inning. Nothing like a comeback on Fan Appreciation Day, and nothing like Rick Rhoden's 3rd straight victory to restore Yankee spirits and revive sagging pennant hopes. Next day, hoping to avoid a sweep, the slumping Tigers brought out their rally caps, but it was the Yankees who rallied for the 4th straight game. And in the bottom of the 18th inning, it was Claudell Washington who brought down the house.
It's deep to right field. Going back, he's limited to the wall. It's gone! 2-run home run. Claudell Washington, bottom of the 18th inning. The Yankees come back once again. Last at bat, the Yankees win it 5-4 to sweep the Tigers here at Yankee Stadium. Whoa, I can't believe it.
Another win by comeback 2 nights later. Luis Aguayo beat Cleveland with a pinch hit homer, and then the Yankees won the finale for their 6th win in 7 games. Time now to open the notebook for This Week in Baseball's TWIB notes from around the majors. The Brewers' Gary Sheffield broke into the majors with a bang, smacking a home run against Seattle for his first big league hit. The blast put Milwaukee up 1-0. Then, in the last of the 11th, Sheffield delivered again, this time with a game-winning double. Not bad for the rookie who's gotten high praise from an uncle in the business.
Well, Gary's a great player. I remember Gary since I was like 6 or 7 years old, and I used to get him out on the pavement, street, and hit baseballs at him all the time. And he'd say the balls were hurting him because I was hitting him hard, and he used to want to go in the house. And I get him back out there. We end up fighting or whatever, but he stayed with it, and he's a great ball player. And I think years to come he's going to be there to help Milwaukee.
Atlanta's Bruce Sutter seems well on the mend from arm surgery that kept him on the sidelines all of last season. In a recent game against San Diego, Sutter notched career save number 300. Only Goose Gossage and Raleigh Fingers have collected more saves than the 35-year-old Sutter. Braves teammate Dale Murphy reached a milestone in the game against the Dodgers when he collected RBI number 73, giving him career RBI number 1,000. And in the same game, Murph upped his career run total to 999. This is Eddie Murray, and his odyssey reached 2001 when the Oriole first baseman pushed his career hit total past the 2,000 mark. And by the way, Murray has more RBIs this decade than any American leaguer. Time now for the answer to this week's quiz, brought to you by Chevrolet. In 1968, Boston's Carl Yastrzemski compiled the all-time lowest average for a batting champion, 301. Look lively, folks. Acts of daring and defiance worth shouting about. Presenting great plays afield. First off, Oakland's Carney Lansford. Brady Anderson, Orioles. Pittsburgh, Glenn Wilson. Gary Sheffield, Brewers. Juan Samuel, Phillies. Mike Heath, Tigers. Jerry Brown, Rangers. Kelly Gruber, Toronto. And the Blue Jays' Tony Fernandez to Manny Lee. Fred Manrique to Ozzie Guillen, White Sox. The Angels' Dick Schofield to Mark McLemore. The Cubs' Ryne Sandberg. Kent Herbeck, Twins. Buddy Bell, Astros. Kansas City's Frank White. Albert Hall, Braves. Harold Reynolds, Seattle. And Cleveland's Joe Carter. And now, fans, here are some tricks of another trade. Look familiar? Well, maybe, but to be sure, no two umpires have quite the same call. In fact, some are famous for their distinctive styles. So if you think a strike is a strike is a strike, just ask legendary umpire Augie Donatelli.
I used to always get down on one knee, see? I'd always have to beat the runner to do that, see? And everything was in front of me, see? And if he was out, I'd get up and say, out! And if he was safe, I'd stay there, safe! What?
There may be a subtle distinction here, but one that's not lost on San Diego's Mark Grant, a reliever who's well schooled in the habits of the men in blue.
I got a lot of time to kill in the bullpen, so I check out the umpires. John Kibler from San Diego, you might be familiar with him. He's just real basic. He squares up behind the plate, he goes, strike. One.
Dutch Renner, my
Dutch
favorite.
Renner, one of the all-time favorites. He's from the old school. Very vocal. He'll get behind the plate and go, strike. One.
Frank Pulley, he's another one of my favorites.
Pulley. He's kind of like the Rocky of the umpires. He'll be behind the plate and he'll go, and then for a strikeout, he'll go,
Well, how about Big John McSherry and his strike call?
he'll just motion with his hand like that.
Okay. Now show us Eric Gregg. How does he call him?
For a right-hander, he gets like this, and he'll go. For a left-hander, he'll go like that.
I tip my hat to you, Mr. Grant. Well done. Now, let's dust off the cobwebs for an old TWIB tale. Today's moral, it pays to be prompt. Bob Watson, now batting coach for the Oakland Athletics, was with the Houston Astros in 1976 when he scored the 1 millionth run in baseball history.
The Houston Ball Club at the time was in San Francisco. We got rained out on a Saturday, a rare rain out over there. So consequently, that Sunday we played a doubleheader and started at 12 o'clock. So as the game started, they had on the big scoreboard their countdown, and it was like 10 runs needed to be scored for 1 million. I hit fourth in the lineup, and I go to hit, and it's down to 2. And so I'm concentrating on the at-bat. So I walk on 4 pitches. Montefusco was the pitcher. He walked me on 4 pitches. And I go to first base, and it's down to 1. All right. At the time, Willie Montañez was playing first base for the Giants. He played behind me, so I stole second. All right. Jose Cruz walked, who was hitting behind me, and then Milt May came up. I think he hit the first pitch and hits it out of the ballpark. And it's still 1 on the scoreboard. And as I round third, our bullpen's down the left field line. The guys in the bullpen said, hey, run, 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 and you can score. All right, so I take off running. Lo and behold, I come to find out, at the same time Milt May hit the home run in Cincinnati, Dave Concepcion hit a home run, and he's racing around the bases. And if I hadn't sprinted to score the run from third base, I beat Concepcion by a second and a half or whatever. You know, that's how I scored the 1,000,000th run.
Time now for our Player of the Week, brought to you by Old Spice. This week we salute a grand foursome: Toronto Blue Jay Jesse Barfield, Boston Red Soxer Jim Rice, Montreal's Hubie Brooks, and the Chicago Cubs' Damon Berryhill, all of whom hit bases-loaded homers on the same day, a record-tying 4 grand slams. Gentlemen, sweet swinging.